Dear children, welcome to my first session of Chapter 8, Algorithmic Problem Solving, Iteration and Recursion. Let me start this session with an example. Consider two variables u and v. Let the values of u and v be 20 and 15. Next, I give an assignment statement. U, v colon equal to u plus 5, v minus 5. What will be the values of u and v after this assignment? It will be 25 and 10. 20 and 15 are the values of u and v before the assignment. 25 and 10 are the values of u and v after the assignment. What do you observe about u plus v? Before the assignment, u plus v is equal to 20 plus 15 equal to 35. After the assignment, u plus v is equal to 25 plus 10 is equal to 35. Observe carefully. The assignment has not changed the value of u plus v. Therefore, we can say that u plus v is an invariant of the assignment. To understand the concept of invariant, let us see another example. The values of the variables p and c is 10 and 9. I give an assignment statement. P, c colon equal to p plus 1, c plus 1. The variable p is incremented by 1 and c is incremented by 1. So after this assignment, p and c will have the values 11 and 10. P is 10 and c is 9 before the assignment. P is 11 and c is 10 after the assignment. Can you discover an invariant? Yes, it is p minus c. Before the assignment, p minus c is equal to 10 minus 9, which is equal to 1. After the assignment, p minus c is equal to 11 minus 10, which is equal to 1. The value of p minus c remains unchanged before and after the assignment. Therefore, p minus c is an invariant of the assignment. Now we can define the term invariant of the assignment as a property of the variables which remains unchanged after an assignment is called invariant of the assignment. Consider two variables m and n. Here I have an assignment m, n colon equal to m plus 3, n minus 1. Is the expression m plus 3n an invariant of this assignment? Let us find out. Take the expression m plus 3n. By the assignment, m becomes m plus 3 and the variable n becomes n minus 1. So, I will now substitute the new values of m and n in this expression. M plus 3n is equal to m plus 3 plus 3 into n minus 1, which is equal to m plus 3 plus 3n minus 3. Cancel plus 3 and minus 3. And I have m plus 3n. It is clear that left hand side is equal to right hand side. Since left hand side is equal to right hand side, I can say that m plus 3n is an invariant of the assignment m, n colon equal to m plus 3, n minus 1. I will show you another example, the chocolate bar problem. A rectangular chocolate bar is divided into squares by horizontal and vertical grooves. How many cuts are needed to break the bar into individual pieces? To solve this problem, let us take two variables P and C. Let P represent the number of pieces and let C represent the number of cuts. Initially, the chocolate bar is in one piece, so P is equal to 1. And since I have not made any cuts, C is equal to 0. When I make a cut in the chocolate bar, I have C is equal to 1 since I have made one cut. And now I have two pieces, so P is equal to 2. Therefore, when you make a cut, the number of pieces increases by 1, which implies P colon equal to P plus 1. And the number of cuts increases by 1, which implies C colon equal to C plus 1. This can be modeled by an assignment P comma C colon equal to P plus 1 comma C plus 1. When will you end the cutting process? When number of pieces P equals to the number of individual squares N. That is, when P is equal to N. I will now write the algorithm for this problem. Step 1. Dash dash N comma P is equal to 1 comma C is equal to 0. Step 2. While P less than N. Step 3. P comma C colon equal to P plus 1 comma C plus 1. Step 4. Dash dash P comma C. Next I will draw the flowchart for this algorithm. Start. And then input the value of N. Here N denotes the number of individual squares in the chocolate bar. And then an assignment statement which initializes the values of P and C to 1 and 0. P comma C colon equal to 1 comma 0. And then a diamond shaped box which contains the condition P less than N. And if this condition is true, the assignment statement P comma C colon equal to P plus 1 comma C plus 1. And the control goes back to check the condition once again. Checking the condition and executing this statement will go on repeatedly until the condition is true. And when the value of P becomes equal to N, the condition will become false and the control comes out. And then I print the values of P and C. And finally, I end the flow chart. In this flow chart, the condition and this assignment statement together form the iteration or loop. Can you discover an invariant in this problem? Let us find out. Before the start of the loop, P is 1 and C is 0. So, P minus C is equal to 1 minus 0, which is equal to 1. Inside the body of the loop, in this assignment statement, P is incremented by 1 and C is incremented by 1. So, in the first iteration, P will be 2 and C will be 1. And so, P minus C is equal to 2 minus 1, which is equal to 1. And at the end of the loop, that is when the condition becomes false and the control comes out, the value of P will be equal to N. That is, the number of pieces will be equal to the number of individual squares in the chocolate bar. So, at this point, P is N. And since C is always 1 less than P, the value of C will be N minus 1. So, P minus C will be equal to N minus 1, which is equal to 1. Can you observe that P minus C remains unchanged before the start of the loop, inside the loop, and at the end of the loop? So, we can say that P minus C is an invariant. Since P minus C is an invariant, before the start of the loop, inside the loop, and at the end of the loop, P minus C is called as loop invariant. The loop invariant is true at the start of the loop, at the start of each iteration, at the end of each iteration, and at the end of the loop. A property of the variables which remains unchanged by the execution of the loop body is called loop invariant. I will solve the 6 trees and 6 sparrows problem using loop invariant. There are 6 equally spaced trees. Each tree is given an index number as follows: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. One sparrow is sitting on each tree. If a sparrow flies from one tree to another, then at the same time another sparrow flies from its tree to some other tree the same distance away but in the opposite direction. Is it possible for all the sparrows to gather on one tree? I calculate the value of S as follows. Initially, S is equal to 1 into 1 plus 1 into 2 plus 1 into 3 plus 1 into 4 plus 1 into 5 plus 1 into 6 equal to 21. In this calculation, in this product 1 into 1, this 1 is the number of birds on that tree, and the one in blue color is the index number of that tree. 1 into 2 means there is one sparrow on tree number 2. 1 into 3 means there is one sparrow on tree number 3. And so on. After one iteration, that is when one sparrow flies from one tree to another tree, at the same time another sparrow flies from its tree to another tree, the same distance but in the opposite direction. S will be 0 into 1 plus 1 into 2 plus 2 into 3 plus 2 into 4 plus 1 into 5 plus 0 into 6 equal to 21. 0 into 1 means there are no sparrows on tree number 1. 1 into 2, there is one sparrow on tree number 2. 2 into 3, there are 2 sparrows on tree number 3. 2 into 4, there are 2 sparrows on tree number 4. 1 into 5, there is 1 sparrow on tree number 5. And 0 into 6 means there are no sparrows on tree number 6. Can you observe that the value of S is same? Therefore, S is equal to 21 can be a loop invariant. Recall that the loop invariant is true at the start of the loop, at the start of each iteration, at the end of each iteration, and at the end of the loop. What will be the value of S at the end of the loop? We want to find out whether it is possible for all the sparrows to gather on one tree. Therefore, at the end of the loop, I assume that all the sparrows are sitting on tree number 3. Again, I will calculate S. S is equal to 0 into 1 plus 0 into 2 plus 6 into 3 plus 0 into 4 plus 0 into 5 plus 0 into 6. 0 into 1 because there are no sparrows on tree number 1. 0 into 2 because there are no sparrows on tree number 2. 6 into 3 because I have assumed that all the 6 sparrows are now sitting on tree number 3. 0 into 4, there are no sparrows on tree number 4. 0 into 5, again no sparrows on tree number 5. 0 into 6. No sparrows on tree number 6. That is, S is equal to 6 into 3. S is equal to 18. This is a contradiction to the loop invariant S is equal to 21. Here I assumed that all the sparrows would have gathered on tree number 3. What if all the sparrows gathered on some other tree? Then I can say S is equal to 6 into K, where K can be any of the index numbers. But for any value of K, S cannot be equal to 21. Hence, it is not possible for all the sparrows to gather on one tree. Next, I will take up the chameleons of Cronbland problem once again. We solved this problem using iteration. When equal number of blue and red chameleons meet, they change to green color. Now I will take 13 red chameleons, 15 green chameleons and 17 blue chameleons. When a red chameleon and a green chameleon meet, both change to blue color. Is it possible to arrange meetings that result in all chameleons displaying blue color? I will try to solve this using loop invariant. Let the variables R, G and B denote the number of red, green and blue chameleons respectively. At the start of the loop, R minus G is equal to 13 minus 15 is equal to minus 2. G minus B is equal to 15 minus 17 equal to minus 2. B minus R is equal to 17 minus 13 equal to 4. The iterative step is formed by the assignment R, G, B colon equal to R minus 1, G minus 1, B plus 2. This is because when one red chameleon and one green chameleon meet, they both change to blue color. Hence, R is reduced by 1, G is reduced by 1 and B is incremented by 2. R becomes R minus 1, G becomes G minus 1 and B becomes B plus 2. When the meetings between the red and green chameleons start, that is at the start of the iteration, I will once again calculate R minus G, G minus B and B minus R, but with the new values of R, G, B. So R minus G is equal to R minus 1 minus G minus 1, which is equal to R minus 1 minus G plus 1 equal to R minus G. Similarly, G minus B is equal to G minus 1 minus B plus 2 equal to G minus 1 minus B minus 2, which is equal to G minus B minus 3. So what I have done here is, in the place of G, I am using G minus 1 and in the place of B, I am using B plus 2. Similarly, B minus R is equal to B plus 2 minus R minus 1 equal to B plus 2 minus R plus 1 equal to B minus R plus 3. So, at the start of the iteration, these are the values which we have for the differences between two colors. Here, two colors differ by a multiple of 3. But at the start of the loop, two colors differ by multiple of 2. This is a contradiction to the property of loop invariant, because a loop invariant is true at the start of the loop, at the start of the iteration, at the end of the iteration, at the end of the loop. Therefore, for these values of red, green and blue chameleons, it is not possible for all the chameleons to change to blue color. We will see another problem which we can solve using loop invariant. It is the jar of marbles problem. A jar is full of black and white marbles. Randomly select 2 marbles. When you select 2 marbles at a time, there are 3 possibilities. The first possibility is when both the marbles are black. If both are black, throw them out, but put another black marble in. I write this possibility as case BB. I have thrown out 2 black marbles, but I have put another black marble in. So totally I have lost only 1 black marble. So I write B colon equal to B dash minus 1. And the number of white marbles remain the same. So W colon equal to W dash. And the total number of black and white marbles in the jar is given by T colon equal to B dash plus W dash minus 1. The next possibility is if both are white. If both are white, throw them out, but put another black marble in. This is case WW. I have thrown out 2 white marbles and I have put 1 extra black marble inside the jar. So B increases by 1 and W decreases by 2. And the total is equal to B dash plus W dash minus 1. The last possibility is if one is a black marble and another is white, throw the black one but place the white one in. This is case BW. Since I have thrown the black one, B will decrease by 1 and W will remain the same because I have put back the white marble. And the total is equal to B dash plus W dash minus 1. If we know the original number of black and white marbles in the jar, what is the color of the last marble in the jar? So if you go on randomly picking out 2 marbles, they are asking you to find out what is the color of the last marble in the jar. I can easily solve this problem by loop invariant. Once again, look at all the 3 cases. Observe how W changes. Either it does not change or decreases by 2. Observe here, in this case BW, it does not change. In BB also it does not change. But in case WW, it decreases by 2. This means that the parity of W, whether it is odd or even, does not change. Which means initially, if W is even, it will remain to be even for every iteration. And if it was odd, it will remain to be odd for every iteration. Therefore, the parity of W is an invariant. At the start of the loop, if W happens to be even, and because the loop invariant is true, at the end of the loop also, W should be even at the end of the loop. When you have only 1 marble left in the jar, the total number of black and white marbles, that is B plus W, will be equal to 1. This implies either W is 0 or W is 1. Since W is even, W cannot be 1, so W has to be 0. From this, we can conclude that the last marble must be black. So, if there are even number of white marbles in the jar, the last marble must be black. If at the start of the loop there were odd number of white marbles, then by loop invariant, at the end of the loop also, there will be odd number of white marbles. And if there is only 1 marble left in the jar, that is B plus W is equal to 1, which implies W is 0 or W is 1. Since W is odd, W cannot be 0, W has to be 1. From this, we can conclude that the last marble must be white. So, if there are odd number of white marbles in the jar, the last marble must be white. In this problem, by knowing the initial number of white marbles, we can say what will be the color of the last marble which is left in the jar. With this, I come to the end of this session. In this session, I taught you about invariant of the assignment and loop invariant. Thank you, children.